Hi everybody! Today we are going to be learning about the 3 states of matter. Now you might be wondering what those are. The 3 states of matter are solids, liquids, and gases, and I'm going to explain what each of those are. So let's start with liquids. Most of you probably know what a liquid is. The first one that pops into my mind is water. But there's lots of others, so some examples are milk, juice, coffee, maybe paint, liquid paint that is. And one way we know that a liquid is it flows and it takes the shape of its container. So that means whichever container we pour it into, it will fill up starting at the bottom. So here, grade ones, I have a glass of water, okay? And I have a bowl. I'm going to pour this water into the bowl. Now, do you think when I pour it into the bowl, it's going to stay tall and skinny like this? Let's find out. Oh, okay. So it didn't stay tall and skinny. It took the shape of its container. That's what we call it. So it started from the bottom and it filled up from there. So whatever container we put a liquid into, it'll turn into that shape. That's kind of neat. So now let's talk about solids. So a solid is anything that has a shape that doesn't change. So there are so many things that are a solid, but some examples could be cars, crayons, vegetables, a soccer ball, birds, shoes, all sorts of things can be a solid. And solids don't take the shape of their container. So here I have this basketball. This is a solid. You can squish it, but it's still a solid because when I put it on the table, it stays a solid, right? What do you think is going to happen when I put this ball into this bowl? Do you think it's going to be like a liquid and kind of melt down and go to the bottom, or do you think it will stay in its solid ball? It stayed a ball. That means this ball is a solid. Now, lastly is gases. So the best example of a gas that I can think of is air, the oxygen that we breathe. Gas is something that we can't see with our eyeballs, but we know that it's there. So we know that tires for cars or bikes are filled with air, but we can't actually see the air. We can tell when a tire is flat though and needs more air into it. So I have a fan here to demonstrate air blowing. I love this on a cool day. So this fan is blowing air into my face to cool me off. Just like that. So something that's really cool, you guys, is water can be in all 3 states of matter. So what do you think would happen, you guys, if I took this bowl of water and put it in the freezer? Do you know what will happen if I put this in the freezer? It's going to turn to ice. When water freezes, it turns to ice. Ice is a solid. Water is a liquid. Now, here's the harder question. What do you think would happen if I boiled this water? If I put it in a pot and put it on the stove and turned up the heat? What do you think would happen? Have you guys heard of evaporation or steam? Have you ever had boiling water? Maybe you're making some soup or something and it kind of gets steamy in the kitchen. Maybe the window's fogged up or something like that. Yeah, that's when water's turning into a gas. It's evaporating. So water is super cool. It can be all 3 states of matter. So we're going to do a little experiment now. I am going to demonstrate the 3 states of matter to you using balloons. So I have 3 balloons and your job is to guess which state of matter is inside the balloon. So here's my first balloon. Whoops. This is my first balloon. Okay, I'll show it to you nice and close. It's pretty light. Oh, it's bouncing around. I can kind of wiggle it like this. Does this look like a regular balloon to you guys? It looks normal to me. I think it's a normal balloon. So what do you think is inside of this balloon? What do you think is inside of it? All that's inside this balloon is air. I blew it up with my mouth. It's just full of air. Nothing special, just normal. So sorry. Whoops. Okay, here's the next one. This is my next balloon. Let's see if I can bounce it around. Oh, not really. Not as well as the other one. What happens if I put it on the table? Oh. What do you think's in this balloon, grade ones? What do you think is in this balloon? It's a bit heavier. It's kind of jiggly. Maybe some of you have used this in the summertime. If you guessed a liquid, you would be correct. I filled this balloon with water. Okay, last but not least, our final balloon is right here. Let's see if I can bounce this one around. Ooh, not really. Can you hear that? Oh, what happens when I put it on the table? I'm gonna give you a hint. This balloon's really cold on my fingers. What do you think is inside this balloon? If you guessed ice, you're correct. It's a solid balloon. I put water in it, and then I put it in the freezer overnight. So this is a solid balloon. Okay, it's time for our experiment now. We are going to test to see if each of these balloons sink or float in a tub of water. Okay, so first, since we're scientists, we are going to make our predictions. So let's start with the balloon filled with air. What do you think this balloon, is going to do when I put it in the water? What do you think it's going to do? Think it'll sink? Do you think it'll float? Do you think it'll float into the sky? What do you think? Make your prediction right now. If you need more think time, you can pause the video, but I'm going to place it in the water now. Let's see what happens. Okay. It didn't sink. It looks to me like it's floating because it's staying right on the surface and it's not going down. Well, that balloon floats. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's try the water balloon. Okay, what do you think this balloon's gonna do? Take your guess. What do you think the balloon filled with a liquid, filled with water, is going to do in the tub of water? Pause it if you need more think time, but here I go. Okay, that was kind of cool. Oh, it's kind of floating up and down a little bit, and now it's kind of settled. It's staying at the surface there, but it's not touching the bottom. If you look down at the bottom there, it's not touching the bottom. That's kind of cool. Okay. Let's try our last balloon. Remember, this is our solid balloon, the one that's rock solid and filled with ice. What do you think it's gonna do? What do you think it'll do when I drop it in this tub of water? I'm not really sure. I don't think it's gonna float because it's pretty heavy. At least not on the top. Let's see. Ooh, okay. So this to me looks very, very similar to the one that was filled with water. So remember, our air balloon stayed at the top above the water, and our ice one is floating down below. Let's add our water balloon, our jiggly water, to it as well. Very interesting. Okay, so our air balloon stays at the top, and this is our water balloon, and this is our ice balloon. That's kind of cool. If you have balloons at home, grade ones, this is something you could try if your parents said it was okay. So, now that you know what the 3 states of matter are, your job is to head back to Seesaw and follow the instructions to identify liquids, solids, and gases. Thanks for watching.